So today we're joined by Max Light, a Brooklyn-based guitarist whose innovative playing has earned him accolades as one of the most promising voices in modern jazz. His latest release, Chaotic Neutral, was described by Downbeat Magazine as complex, shrouded in mystery, and endlessly intriguing, solidifying Max a true trailblazer. From earning second place in the prestigious Herbie Hancock Institute of Jazz International Guitar Competition to collaborating with jazz luminaries like Donny McCaslin and Christian Sands, he's built an extraordinary career. So join us as we explore his creative journey, groundbreaking projects, and what makes him one of the most exciting guitarists of his generation. So Max, good to see you. Thanks for taking the time today.
It's my pleasure, Abe. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When I heard you playing with my friend Michael Feinberg in some videos, I was like, whoa, you
Oh man,
know.
that's funny. I'm playing a gig tonight with Michael.
You see, everything works out for the best. So you have to
Yeah,
tell
wow.
him you had fun with me on the podcast.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I heard you playing with him and just, was just, totally blown away. But did you start off with how soon did you get into playing jazz? Because I assume you started guitar like the rest of us, with
Yeah,
rock.
like guitar. I mean, I started playing electric bass after I saw School of Rock when I was like in fourth grade, and I was just like, that's super cool. That's what I want to do. That movie like exposed me to AC/DC and Led Zeppelin and different kinds of music that my parents had exposed me to, and that was like a slippery slope towards my brother had a guitar, my younger brother had a guitar in the house, and I just slowly like moved towards that as I was getting more and more into guitar focused rock and metal and stuff like that, and ultimately like metal is really what made me like serious about music.
What metal can mean? What metal bands in particular? Because metal is like pretty.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah, I mean the first stuff. Basically, my trajectory was like AC/DC hard rock into like Metallica, Pantera, Megadeth, thrash type stuff into then I was into like the like metalcore, post hardcore bands of my youth, like I don't know, Avenged Sevenfold, Protest the Hero, From First to Last, like these super guitar forward bands. But then like through those guys getting into heavier stuff like Between the Buried and Me, and then like Meshuggah, Converge, like more more intense stuff, but always like really guitar focused stuff. And I just love to practice and I love to write on the instrument, and I especially love to write in like drop D tuning because it was so easy to just like you know play some harmonic stuff with one finger, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I had a really great teacher, middle school through high school. This guy named Chuck Underwood in the DC area, who's still playing his ass off, and played with Patti LaBelle for many years. And he kind of took me under his wing and was like, yeah, this metal stuff is all cool, whatever. But like, meanwhile, just be checking out theory, be doing this stuff. And he kept exposing me to music. And at some point in high school, he showed me like Chick Corea, Return to Forever, Light as a Feather. And I was like, this is some different type of stuff. And pretty soon after that, he showed me. I mean, he had showed me all this stuff already, but I think like the music of Pat Martino really clicked with me at some point. Like especially like that super theatrical solo he takes on Sunny. You know that recording? I mean, there's like a bunch of different ones, but like there's this
You
one
talking
where
about the YouTube video with him
yeah,
and Schofield?
with him and Schofield
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
where he plays that three note thing for like 10
Forever.
choruses forever, and I was like, this is like unbelievable, and comes out of it screaming, and I was like, what is that?
I think he does it even longer on the live at Yoshi's. Like,
Exactly. And that's like the first record I got with Billy Hart and Joey DiFrancesco, and that was
same.
like, and I was like, he's doing it, like that was my stuff, so that's what I wanted to do. And Chuck gave me like the lines, that Pat Martino line book, and I was shedding his music, and then it was just like I couldn't stop. I just wanted to do that thing. But that's what I was trying to sound like and go for, like super rolled
I,
off tone.
I feel like though, based on the way you play, I mean, if I'm wrong, like I'm just gonna guess, but like when you were learning jazz, you were still listening to the stuff you originally loved and not, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think the love for metal or other kinds of music ever really left me. Like I'm still always checking stuff out, but definitely when I got into jazz, I was also really influenced by friends of mine in high school, some great musicians from my area that I grew up with. This drummer Aaron Sieber, who's still in town and playing a ton of gigs. Great bass player Dan Papalardo, still in town playing a ton of gigs. Came up through the same after school jazz program as Braxton Cook and William and Pete Anderson. Tyrone Allen used to play with him in high school. Like so many musicians, but especially Aaron and Dan were like so serious, and they were in the grade above me at school. And Aaron just knew like thousands of records already, and I was like, this is what it means to be a jazz musician and learn jazz. So I was like, when I got into it, I was listening to tons of records and checking out as much music as I can, like of all, not even all, but like, like straight ahead jazz tradition of the 50s and 60s, Blue Note, post bop, hard bop, Hank Mobley, Dexter Gordon, Sonny Rollins. Like I was just really trying to consume as much of the music as possible, and was like, I was all in. But definitely, I was still in metal bands at the time. Like I was in an original music metal band where we were writing music together, and like I was still playing on a Gibson SG for those situations. So like yeah, I think pretty early on, like I just knew I was serious about music, and like the more music I learned, the more stuff I was getting into. But I always kept it all kind of going, I would say. So
I
yeah,
think no, that's definitely what makes you such a special player, to not forget about where you came from in a sense.
thanks, man. That means a lot. I mean, yeah, I love what I love, and like I've always I've always loved it. I still love it. I still listen to metal all the time. Still check out new records and new bands, and I just want to hear awesome guitar playing too. If I
Yeah.
hear some band with great guitar solos, I'm like, sick.
No, I love it. That's such a great that's the mind, because I'm not gonna we know the word jazz snob. I don't have to explain it to
Yeah, yeah,
to people. But let's fast forward a little bit. I want to talk to you about the Herbie Hancock guitar camp competition.
yeah, yeah.
Now, you know, competitions are subjective,
Mhm.
but you know, and I know whatever second place, like that's still fantastic, but it's like even to get into that, be one of the finalists.
Yeah,
It's like I almost feel like, can't that be enough?
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Like obviously these are all killers,
yeah,
you know? Um, and then there's correct me if you're judged by guitarists, right?
yeah, yeah, man. It was like Pat Metheny and Schofield and Lionel Lueke, Chico Pinheiro, Lee Ritenour, Stanley Jordan. It was like crazy spread of the heaviest guitar
You
players.
see them all watching you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think so. For the semifinals, there were 12 of us, and I think Pat was not there for the semifinals, but everyone else was, or maybe it was Schofield wasn't there. The whole thing is like sort of a blur in my memory because it was like kind of just like a stress fever dream or something, like
Yeah, I mean like um I've done some competitions and not that one, but some I've won, some most I've lost. But it's so stressful.
yeah,
How
like
are you? So I wanted to ask you, when you're playing like that, and improvising, like, do you have certain ideas you're going to execute on the tune? Like because I would imagine you only have a certain amount of time to
yeah,
play, almost
yeah.
like a record, so it's like some stuff kind of has to be calculated out, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a really good question, and I think um like the whole thing about this is it's the only competition I ever did, and like I don't know how you feel, but I don't really believe in it, like music competition in
I
general.
hate it. I
Like
hate
I
it.
feel like the whole notion of it is so like antithetical to what art is and what we're all trying to do as musicians. And like I always felt that jaded about it. And you know, when I got into the competition, I had just moved to Brooklyn and was like trying to figure out what I was doing with my life and trying to figure out how to pay my rent, which was like, you know, like really rough apartment, super cheap rent, and I could barely pay it playing music. And I was just like, how do I do this? And when they announced the Monk competition was going to be a guitar competition, I was like, all right, I'm just going to go for it and do my thing with my friends and make some tape and make it as like authentic to myself as it could be. And of course, like all of my friends who are guitar players in New York at the same time were applying, and they're all brilliant improvising musicians, like really hardworking people who are incredibly serious about music. And there's only 12 slots, and to me, I think it's like it's a little arbitrary what they end up picking because there's hundreds and hundreds of applicants, and it's like if you've ever been in that position of being like on the committee that accepts people, like I don't know. There's some people that didn't get into the semifinals that I was shocked didn't get in.
Shocked.
Yeah, shocked. Yeah, and like cats that are still out here in New York
No,
playing
you don't have to
gigs.
mention their names or anything like that. You know, it's
Yeah, but like it's just like it's the nature of the competition. But like obviously I felt incredibly honored when I found out that I had gotten to the semifinals, and I felt also like pretty validated by that. That I had approached it with that mindset of like I'm just gonna do my thing. I'm not gonna pay.
healthy outlook, healthy.
I was trying not to like pay attention to what other people were doing or saying about it, and like a big part of my audition tape was like I played a mostly solo version of Isfahan, I think, and I was just like doing the same
Ooh.
thing. I was like, I think I'm just gonna do my thing and improvise something and not. I had like one thing worked out, sort of this like dorky major seven thing on the melody. But I sort of felt like, well, if it's like a jazz guitar composition, what does jazz mean to me, and what does improvising mean to me, and like how can I express myself through this medium, and what do I want to show? So I kept, you know, I got in and then I shed a lot. I've just like kept practicing with that mindset, just like trying to improvise and build tunes. And then we got there to the, you know, the hotel for the competition, and
I
it was
hope it's
like,
a nice hotel.
yeah, super nice hotel. I mean, I
If
can't
they
remember.
put you in the Days Inn, like I
Yeah,
bet.
exactly. Like outside of town. No, it was like I can't even remember. It's like a incredibly fancy hotel in downtown DC, like the Continental or something. I can't even remember. But it's, you know, like chandeliers in the lobby.
Do
Like
you meet Herbie at the competition?
I did meet Herbie. I met him for like a second backstage at the finals. And the finals were a part of a much bigger event that was celebrating the life work of Terence Blanchard, and it was like basically the three finalists played their two songs at the beginning of the event, and then it was just like band after band after band of Monk Institute alumni who were playing together, and then also Herbie and also Terence Blanchard and Liz Wright and Walter Smith and Dana Stevens and Colin Stranahan and Victor Gould, and everyone was playing, and it was in the what's the room called? It was in the big room at the Kennedy Center. It's like a 3,000 seat, you know, balcony theater that was totally sold out. And like, if the semifinals had been stressful, the finals were like, this is like another level of like, I don't even know where I am or what I'm doing here. And like, sound in those rooms is crazy. So like, the whole experience was crazy and like sort of alienating from how I hear guitar when I play it.
Sure.
But
Are you in good I don't know who won first place, but
it was is this Russian cat, Yevgeny Pobozy, who
are you guys have like a relationship now, friendship? Because it's like number one and number two, and that
I
they
mean,
rate, you know.
I think I have. It's just Instagram, basically. I mean, he
Yeah.
lives in Moscow and plays in Igor Bootman's band, and I think he's really successful in Russian jazz, and he shreds. He's a monster player, like monster fusion monster. So, I mean, that's I would say I keep in touch with him.
He lives in Russia.
Yeah, he lives in Moscow. He's got kids, and he was yeah. I don't know. I was so stoked. I don't know. I was just so stoked for everybody to be a part of it, and like, yeah. Well, I met Herbie backstage after I played, and he said I don't remember what he said. I think he said like, "Man, you have a great sound," and I was just like that. The whole like 2 days, I was just like high on adrenaline or something.
Yeah.
So when he said that to me, I was just like, "Thank you so much, Herbie. Your music is so important to me." Like yada yada yada, and was just like making a fool out of myself. And it's like, of course he knows that he's Herbie Hancock, and like he doesn't need some kid telling.
I'm like a smart ass. I've never met Herbie, but I like if I met Herbie, I would probably be like, wait, you wrote Watermelon Man, right?
Yeah, that's probably yeah,
I would
exactly
probably be
right.
like say something. I'm like, or I would say like a different tune. But I just like I like
Fuck
fucking with
around,
people
yeah.
like that, you
I
know.
do too, but the whole thing was just like I felt so like I just couldn't even believe what was going on. But that was like our one interaction, and he was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, whatever. Like, go sit down, take a breath." But like, I remember the semifinals too. It was like all of us backstage, and we could hear everyone on stage, and it was this like this weird little green room where it was all 12 of us leaving one by one, and
Oh God,
that's not, yeah, it was like I don't know, man. It was like being in the trenches or
do they
something.
have alcohol there in the room,
There
like
was
or
no alcohol. It was like in the morning, you know. It
yeah?
was like, and everyone was just like, some people were shedding, and everyone was freaking out, and we couldn't hear anything in the green room. But if you stepped like 1 foot outside, you could hear someone ripping and ripping so differently from you, you know. And everyone was so different and personal and amazing at music and guitar. And like, I remember I went out for the first guy, Talia Halom. I don't know if you know his playing, but
I don't.
he's a fucking genius guitar player. Pardon my language.
No, curse. Please.
Incredible, really incredible, brilliant, totally brilliant musician, finger style, jazz, like everything. And I went out and I heard him playing this solo guitar, stride solo guitar arrangement of, man, I don't remember. I think it was All of Me or some tune, and I was just like, that's fucked up. I don't know what's going on. I got to go back in. You know what I mean? It totally freaked me out, and I was just like, okay, I'm not going to listen to anyone else because I can't do that. So I was last of the first half. I was number six, and then there was a break, and then it was the other six. And for the second six, I heard everyone's thing because I was like, whatever, I'm done. It doesn't even matter. And it was just like amazing guitarist after amazing guitarist after amazing guitarist, and everyone doing different stuff, playing different. I don't know, man. It was really deeply inspiring.
Well, I listen. I'm happy that you were a finalist and you made it. So I mean, like you deserve it unquestionably. You know what I mean? It's just
Thanks, Abe. I appreciate that, man. I
yeah.
appreciate that. But just like the whole experience was such a trip. It was so inspiring too to like hear all these cats that play so different. I remember hearing Cecil Alexander in the
Oh,
second
he's a
half.
killer too. Yeah.
Dude, he's a monster. I was like, that's the dude. That guy is winning the competition because that's jazz guitar. That is like super modern, authentic post Benson ripping, like, and the tunes were hip, and like he had written, the other thing was like everyone brought music for it, and we only had 30 minutes to rehearse with the band, which was Carl Allen, Yasushi Nakamura, and Reggie Thomas. And like 30 minutes is not enough time, really, with like anybody to work on anything. So like I feel like we knew this in advance, and I feel like it was a balance of like trying to write stuff or bring material that wasn't just like playing the tune, that had like a little something about it, you know what I mean? But not having it be crazy enough that it's just gonna fall apart on stage. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And
Because like those
I love how honest you're being about it. Because there's so many people who want to know about these. You know. These type of competitions and and I really appreciate your speaking so so honestly about it. I, when you did you feel like at the time that once it was over you could kind of like get back to you a little bit, you know what I mean, like the pressure was off and now, or was it like, oh, I have this accolade, like maybe new career things could open up for me, like what about post competition?
post it was a little bit like that, but I think the biggest feeling I had afterwards was like just really validated, like because I was in this zone that everybody is in when they move to New York City as a jazz musician, which is like, I'm poor as shit. I have no idea how to make money. I don't know how anybody makes money doing this. Like, how do I make this, like, how can I turn this thing I love into a thing that sustains itself long term? And I've always felt like I want to love what I love authentically, and I want to do what I do authentically, and like, so to get to that position where I made it to the finals and then I got second place, I really felt like spiritually validated or something. Like, I was
Beautiful.
like, it doesn't even really matter what happens, because like, it's gonna be cool, and I'm gonna continue to play with my friends, and I'm gonna get to continue with play musicians I love to play with, and like, it just means like I've been doing something right so far, because like it's been recognized in this certain way. Um,
Are you
Not that it
teaching it
has,
all now too? Like to like
yeah, yeah. I teach. I have a couple. I have some regular students that return, but I just do. I mean, I do a lot of like lessons to people that hit me up on Instagram, or like people that are from out of town that are visiting New York hit me up for lessons, or a lot of international students that come to town will hit me up.
virtual stuff like this kind of too at all?
Yeah, virtual stuff as well, and like I've got some great students in China where we have to like work with the 13-hour time difference, and but like yeah, I mean, I do the teaching thing, but it's not like that. It's not super regular. Like, there's like, I kind of organize it around the rest of my life and around my students' life, and it's sort of like there's usually someone there that I can schedule and schedule other students around them, and like every couple of weeks I'll have a week where it's just like a ton of students, and
Would you
it's all
do some sort of like, college professor for jazz thing? Like, is that something that interests you, or you really just want?
absolutely. I mean, I love to teach, and I love to teach hungry students too. Like, I love to talk real musical stuff with people that can understand it and want to know it. So that's definitely like, I think that's kind of it's a long-term goal for me, if there is any long-term goal, just because like I don't think there isn't security for someone like me in this line of work, and like, if I want to get,
Security in the music world is like it's almost like what is like an oxymoron or
yeah,
something?
exactly. But like, I do usually when I travel as well, I teach a lot of lessons, and I'll teach master classes, and more the older I've been getting, I'll like travel to a college to do a master class, which is just like, that's the shit for me. I love that, because it's always to a bunch of really hungry students who are trying to like learn about music and learn how to make this thing happen.
Where did you go again to school? School, it just slipped my mind. If you could
I
just
went to
repeat.
New England Conservatory.
NEC, right? Okay, got it.
And that was awesome. I mean, that was such a trip and so good for me
Who
artistically.
teaches guitar there? Because I remember when I was, excuse me, Norm Zocher was teaching a little
Yeah,
bit.
Norm was there. I never studied with him. I studied with Brad Shepik mostly,
Ah,
and
he,
also Joe Morris. If you know Joe,
I don't know him, but Brad's coming on the podcast soon, actually.
oh, Brad is the man. Tell him I say what's up.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I
I
studied.
tell him he did a good job.
He was one of the reasons I went there, because I got into a couple schools for college, and I wanted to take lessons to see who I wanted to study with before I went. And I went to Brad's, and he like showed me some stuff and blew my mind, and I was like, this is amazing. It's
So
like,
you went like with the idea of like wanting to study with him specifically.
yeah, exactly, because I kind of felt like, I don't even, I'm not qualified to know what like the schools even have to offer, but like that. So I took a lesson or two with him before I went, and then I studied with him for a few years when I was there. And I also studied with Joe Morris for a few years there, and Joe is a brilliant free music guitar player and bass player, composer, like post Derek Bailey kind of school of like totally open improvisation. But he has a really structured and like a real way of looking at that, like the structures of free improvising and how it connects to structures in music. And like, just hanging with him and talking to him as an artist and a teacher was so mind opening, and it was kind of like the opposite of like bebop boot camp or something. He was like why was Ornette doing what he was doing? Why was Cecil Taylor doing what he was doing? What is the value of music? What is the value of art? Why are you playing guitar like that? You know what
Were
I mean?
you there in like 2000 and like 8-ish, or was that two
No, I
two?
went 2011 to 15.
God, okay, because I was up in Boston one time playing a session at NEC, and I was like, that would have been funny if I was, because I was already gone from, but if it would have been funny if you were up there at the same time, like
Did
just
you all you,
starting
did you also go to school up there
in Berkeley,
at
yeah, yeah,
Berkeley? Okay, cool. Who
yeah.
were you studying with there?
Um, Mostly this guy John Thomas. I'm not sure if you know who he is or not,
No,
but
I
he's
don't.
he's recently passed away. He
Oh,
was he was my mentor for, for the whole time basically. But I studied with like I took like a semester with Tim Miller. I'm sure you've heard him
of
before.
course. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I've never met Tim, but his music like really affected me at a specific moment at NEC. I like heard it and watched a video of him talking about it, and I was like, I want to play wide intervals. You know what I mean? This guy is the best at it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember taking less with him. He really wanted me to, like he actually was more, we did a little bit of that, but I think it was more like half more about like he wanted me to transcribe some things,
Interesting.
in
Interesting.
the lessons, which was kind of cool. Is
Yeah.
we did some of the wider stuff, and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like he was cool. So you make the move, you go from the DC area
Uh.
to New England,
Uh.
and then it's like you go up and you go, and now you're midway through kind of.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like 4 hours. 4 hours. New York in the middle,
Are
basically.
you kind of going, work going, um, you're working all three in a sense? Because I know you work in Boston,
Every once in a while. I mean, less than I used to. I would say. Like the last few years I was in Boston. I started playing in Jason Palmer's band at Wally's Jazz Club with around the same time that Noah Preminger was playing in it, and when I got into that band and situation, I was like, this is so way higher level than anything I have been exposed to, any professional situation I've been exposed to in my life. And like, Jason is one of the greatest trumpet players in the world, and
And
he
you've played
has,
in Noah's band too, right?
yeah, we still play
Okay.
together very regularly, but that's where we met. We met at Wally's this Friday and Saturday weekly gig in Boston, run by Jason Palmer. And Jason's thing is like he plays his original tunes that are all super hard. At least at the time, they were super hard for me. They were all in 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. Like, and Jason would blow, like, the gig was 9 to 1, and we'd play two sets, and Jason would blow like 15 minutes on every tune, and it was this like incredible, still to this day I think like my favorite gig I've ever played was that gig. It was like a weekly weekend, Friday and Saturday original music gig where I was playing with like the highest level horn players in the universe, and rhythm section was great friends of mine, and we're all trying to hang and trying to make the music happen, and I'm like dying, First like 6 months I did that gig, I was like, I don't even know how these meters work. I can like kind of play in 5, kind of play in 7, but when they played in 5, it was like,
When you're in those situations, do you kind of having to find yourself almost like, I don't want to say playing by ear, but like playing more just like in a, like, I mean, I don't play that type of stuff at all. I never have, and I really couldn't do it justice in any way. But like, when you're in that sense of just starting out to do it, and it seems overwhelming, do you find yourself like having to almost think about like as if there was no chords or no harmony in a sense?
yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing I was just trying to like, I don't know how to put it. I was just trying to like make it happen. I was just trying to like make the hang, because I would also almost always have to blow last. Like these two ridiculous horn players would take these like incredible and super long solos, and I'd be comping and trying to make it happen the whole time, and then I would blow and be left with no stamina, and also like have to somehow find a way to maintain the musical texture. And it was a real struggle at first, but I was shedding like a maniac because the tunes were so fucking hard. Like
I would honestly like I couldn't I would have to just imagine there's no key and it's just there's the groove but there's nothing. I just have to play
that's
free.
I mean, that's what's up until I get to the one tune that's like he has this one tune that's sort of based on that Victor Lewis tune, "Hey, It's Me You're Talking To." You know that tune?
I don't know. I'm off the top of my head
It's
now.
this thing where it goes, F major, 2/5 to D major, 2/5 to B major, 2/5 to A flat major, like the diminished cycle major chord thing. But it's in seven, and it does that in
Oh,
all 12 keys. Like every eight measures, it pivots to another one, and then the end of the tune is all 12, like every, group of four major chords twice as fast. So it's like if I'm folding, it sounds wrong. You know what I mean? It's like it's just like and everybody else is nailing it. So I just like I ate shit for like 6 months and
you
was
put in
just
the
like,
time though, to
yeah,
get
I
to
put
it.
in the time because I was just like, this is the shit. This is like it was really deep. And then I moved to New York after that, and I'd go back to Boston for a while when I first moved to New York, but I've gone back less and less to each city. I'm mostly in New York these days, but every once in a while, I mean, I'll still play a gig in DC. My whole family is there. Still play some gigs in Boston. So
No,
yeah,
you're in like the center of like, and it is the center, but it's between some two awesome cities as well. So
definitely East Coast, East
yeah,
Coast for life.
East Coast, EC4L.
EC4L, yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah, yeah, Max, thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Oh man, it's a real pleasure, man, and I love this thing you're doing, man. I love the idea of musicians documenting music, like since learning about this, I've just been like, man, it's really music to my ears that someone is doing this kind of thing because I feel like a publicist or a journalist or like
Oh,
them,
they don't know shit about the music.
they don't, yeah, and like they can be so passionate, but what I am interested in is musicians talking about music and musicians' opinions on music as well. Like I love like Ethan Iverson's thing and Kevin Sun's thing because they are great musicians that write and talk and yeah. Thank you for having me, man. It's a
Oh
real
no, and yeah, I mean this was great, and you know what, it's going to be great too for people to learn about, learn about the competition and all the honest stuff, and but like you kept it real, which is that's the most important thing. We'll have to do it again.
absolutely, man. I'm
Yeah,
around.
yeah. Say hi to Michael tonight too.
I will. I definitely will, man. I didn't know you guys were friends. I'll
Oh
definitely.
no, we're good friends. We're like we go back like 15 years or
No
something.
shit. Oh man,
Yeah,
Feinberg is the man.
yeah, he's the best.